Book of Heaven, Volume 20, Part 5. October 22nd, 1926. The great good that the kingdom of the divine Fiat shall bring. How it shall be the preserver from all evils. Just as the Virgin, while she made no miracle, made the great miracle of giving a God to creatures, so it shall be for the one who must make the kingdom known. She shall make the great miracle of giving a divine will. I was thinking to myself about the holy divine volition, and I said to myself, but what shall be the great good of this kingdom of the supreme Fiat? And Jesus, interrupting my thought, moved in my interior, and as though hurriedly, telling me, "My daughter, what shall be the great good? What shall be the great good? The kingdom of my Fiat shall enclose all goods, all miracles, the most sensational prodigies. Even more, it shall surpass them altogether. And if miracle means to give sight to a blind one, to straighten up a cripple, to heal one who is sick, to raise a dead man, and so forth, the kingdom of my will shall have the preserving nourishment, and for whomever enters into it, there shall be no danger that he might become blind, crippled, or sick. Death shall no longer have power in the soul, and if it shall have it over the body, it shall not be death, but transit. Without the nourishment of sin, and a degraded human will that produced corruption in the bodies, and with the preserving nourishment of my will, the bodies also shall not be subject to decomposing and becoming so horribly corrupted as to strike fear even into the strongest ones, as it happens now. But they shall remain composed in their sepulchres, waiting for the day of the resurrection of all. Do you think it is a greater miracle to give sight of a poor blind one, to straighten up a cripple, to heal one who is sick, or to have a preserving means, so that the eye may never lose its sight, so that one may always walk straight, so that one may always be healthy? I believe that the preserving miracle is greater than the miracle after a misfortune has occurred. This is the great difference between the kingdom of redemption and the kingdom of the supreme Fiat. In the first, the miracle was for the poor unfortunate, as it is today, who lie, some in one misfortune, some in another. And this is why I gave the example, also externally, of giving many different healings, that were the symbol of the healings that I gave to the souls, and who easily returned to their infirmity. The second shall be a preserving miracle, because my will possesses the miraculous power that whoever lets himself be dominated by it shall be subject to no evil. Therefore, it shall have no need to make miracles, because it shall preserve them always healthy, holy, and beautiful, worthy of that beauty that came out of our creative hands in creating the creature. The kingdom of the divine Fiat shall make the great miracle of banishing all evils, all miseries, all fears, because it shall not perform a miracle at time and circumstance, but shall keep the children of its kingdom with itself, with an act of continued miracle, to preserve them from any evil, and let them be distinguished as the children of its kingdom. This in the souls, but also in the body there shall be many modifications, because it is always sin that is the nourishment of all evils. Once sin is removed, there shall be no nourishment for evil. More so, since my will and sin cannot exist together. Therefore, the human nature also shall have its beneficial effects. Now, my daughter, having to prepare the great miracle of the kingdom of the supreme Fiat, I am doing with you, firstborn daughter of my will, just as I did with the sovereign queen, my mamma, when I had to prepare the kingdom of redemption. I drew her so close to myself, I kept her so occupied in her interior, as to be able to form together with her the miracle of redemption, for which there was such great need. There were so many things that, together, we were to do, to redo, to complete, that I had to hide from her outward appearance anything that might be called miracle, except for her perfect virtue. By this I rendered her more free, so as to let her cross the endless sea of the eternal Fiat, and that she might have access to the divine majesty, in order to obtain the kingdom of redemption. What would be greater, that the celestial queen had given sight to the blind and speech to the mute, and so forth, or the miracle of making the eternal Word descend upon earth? The first would have been accidental, passing, and individual miracles. The second, instead, is a permanent miracle, and it is for everyone, as long as they want it. Therefore, the first would have been as though nothing compared to the second. She was the true sun, who, eclipsing everything, eclipsed the very word of the Father within herself, letting all the goods, all the effects and miracles that redemption produced, germinate from her light. But as sun, she produced goods and miracles, without letting herself be seen or pointed at as the primary cause of everything. In fact, all the good I did upon earth, I did because the Empress of Heaven reached the point of holding her empire in the divinity, and by her empire she drew me from heaven to give me to creatures. Now, I am doing the same with you, in order to prepare the kingdom of the supreme Fiat. I keep you with me. I make you cross its endless sea, to give you access to the celestial Father, that you may pray him, conquer him, have empire over him, to obtain the Fiat of my kingdom. And in order to fulfill and consummate in you all the miraculous power that is needed to form a kingdom so holy, I keep you continuously occupied in your interior with the work of my kingdom. I make you make your round continuously, in order to redo, to complete everything that is needed, and that all should do, in order to form the great miracle of my kingdom. Externally, I let nothing miraculous appear in you, except for the light of my will. Some might say, how can this be? Blessed Jesus manifests so many portents to this creature about this kingdom of the divine Fiat, and the goods it shall bring shall surpass creation and redemption. Even more, it shall be the crown of both one and the other. But in spite of so much good, nothing miraculous can be seen in her, externally, as confirmation of the great good of this kingdom of the eternal Fiat. While the other saints, without the portent of this great good, have made miracles at each step. But if they turn back to consider my dear mamma, the holiest of all creatures, and the great good that she enclosed within herself, and that she brought to creatures, there is no one who can compare to her, as she made the great miracle of conceiving the divine Word within herself, and the portent of giving a God to each creature. And in the face of this great prodigy, never before seen or heard, of being able to give the eternal Word to creatures, all other miracles together are like tiny little flames before the sun. Now, the one who must do the greatest has no need to do the lesser. In the same way, in the face of the miracle of the kingdom of my will restored in the midst of creatures, all other miracles shall be tiny little flames before the great sun of my will. Each saying, truth, and manifestation about it is a miracle that has come out of my will as preserver from all evils. It is like binding the creature to an infinite good, to a greater glory, and to a new beauty, fully divine. Each truth about my eternal Fiat contains more power and prodigious virtue than if a dead man were resurrected, a leper were healed, a blind one could see, or a mute could speak. In fact, my words on the sanctity and power of my Fiat shall resurrect the souls to their origin. They shall heal them from the leprosy produced by the human will. They shall give them the sight to be able to see the goods of the kingdom of my will, because until now they have been like blind. They shall give speech to many mute, who, while they were able to say many other things, only for my will were like many mute without speech. And then the great miracle of being able to give to each creature a divine will that contains all goods. What shall it not give them when it shall be in possession of the children of its kingdom? This is why I keep you all occupied with the work of this kingdom of mine. And there is much to do in order to prepare the great miracle that the kingdom of the Fiat be known and possessed. Therefore, be attentive in crossing the endless sea of my will, so that the order between creator and creature may be established. In this way, through you, I shall be able to make the great miracle that man returned to me, into the origin from which he came. Then I was thinking of what is written above, especially that each word and manifestation on the supreme will is a miracle come out of it. And Jesus, to confirm in me what he had told me, added, "My daughter, what do you think a greater miracle was when I came upon earth? my word, the gospel I announced, or the fact that I gave life to the dead, sight to the blind, hearing to the deaf, and so forth? Ah, my daughter, my word, my gospel was a greater miracle. More so, since the very miracles came out of my word. The foundation, the substance of all miracles, came out of my creative word. The sacraments, creation itself, a permanent miracle, had life from my word. And my very church has my word, my gospel, as regime and foundation. So, my word, my gospel, was a miracle greater than the miracles themselves, that if they had life, it was because of my miraculous word. Therefore, be sure that the word of your Jesus is the greatest miracle. My word is like mighty wind that runs, pounds on the hearing, enters into the hearts, warms, purifies, illuminates, makes its round and round from nation to nation. It covers the whole world. It wanders throughout all centuries. Who could ever give death and bury one word of mine? No one. And if sometimes it seems that my word is silent and is as though hidden, it never loses its life. When least expected, it comes out and makes its round everywhere. Centuries shall pass in which everything, men and things, shall be confounded and disappear. But my word shall never pass away, because it contains life, the miraculous power of He who issued it. Therefore, I confirm that each word and manifestation I make to you about my eternal fiat is the greatest miracle that shall serve the kingdom of my will. And this is why I push you so much, and I care so much that not a word of mine be not manifested and written by you, because I see a miracle of mine coming back to me that shall bring so much good to the children of the kingdom of the supreme fiat. October 24th, 1926. How there is nothing more holy and bearer of every happiness than the divine will. How all the acts of creation and redemption have the purpose of establishing the kingdom of the supreme fiat. I was making my usual round in the divine volition, and in each thing I placed my I love you, and I asked that the kingdom of the fiat come and be known upon earth. And reaching all the acts that my sweet Jesus did in redemption, asking in each act, your kingdom come, I thought to myself, before, in making my round so much, both in all creation and in redemption, I used to place only my I love you, my adoration, my thank you. And now, why can I not do without asking for the kingdom of the fiat? I feel I would want to overwhelm everything, the smallest and the greatest thing, heaven and earth, the very acts of Jesus and Jesus himself, and force them so that everything and everyone may say together with me, We want the kingdom of the supreme Fiat. We want it reigning and dominating in our midst. More so, since all want it. The very acts of Jesus, his life, his tears, his blood, his wounds, say from within, "May our kingdom come upon earth." And so I enter into the act of Jesus, and I repeat along with it, "May the kingdom of the divine Fiat come soon." Now, while I was thinking of this, my beloved Jesus came out from within my interior, and with unspeakable tenderness told me, "My daughter, the one who is born in my will, feels its life flowing within her, and as though naturally, she wants for everyone that which she possesses. And since my will is immense and encloses everything and everyone, the one who possesses it makes her round through all the things it encloses, to pray it and win it, to descend upon earth, to form its kingdom. However, you must know that in order to have dominion, and make them say what you want, in all the things that came out of my will and enclose it, first, you had to know them, and then love them, so that love might give you the right to possess them, and to make them do and say whatever you want. Here is the reason why, before, in making your round through all of my works, you would impress your "I love you," "I adore you," "I thank you." It was the knowledges of my works that you were acquiring, and the possession of them that you were taking. Now, after the possession, what greater, holier, and more beautiful thing, more bearer of all happinesses to the human generations, can you ask in the midst of my works, and together with them, than the coming of the kingdom of my will? More so, since in creation, just as in the kingdom of redemption, it was the kingdom of the Fiat that I wanted to establish in the midst of creatures. All of my acts, my very life, their origin, their substance, deep within them, it was the Fiat that they asked for, and for the Fiat were they made. If you could see inside each one of my tears, each drop of my blood, each pain, and all of my works, you would find within them the Fiat that they were asking for, and how they were directed toward the kingdom of my will. And even though apparently they seemed to be directed to redeeming and saving man, that was the way that they were making in order to reach to the kingdom of my will. This happens also to creatures. When they decide that they want to take possession of a kingdom, of a house, of a land, they do not just find themselves in it and in possession of it immediately in one instant, but they have to make their way. Who knows how much suffering, fighting, and climbing of stairs in order for them to be in it, and then take possession of it. My daughter, if all the acts and pains that my humanity suffered did not have the restoration of the kingdom of my Fiat upon earth as their origin, substance, and life, I would have moved away from and lost the purpose of creation, which cannot be, because once God has set himself a purpose, he must and can obtain the intent. And if in everything you do, suffer, and say, "You do not ask for my fiat, and do not have my will as origin and substance. You move away from and do not fulfill your mission. And it is necessary that you make your round time and time again in my will, in the midst of my works, to ask, all in chorus, for the coming of the supreme fiat, so that together with all creation and with all my works, which I did in redemption, you may be filled to the brim with all the acts that are needed before the Celestial Father, to make known and to impetrate the kingdom of my will upon earth. Now, you must know that all creation and all my works done in redemption are as though tired of waiting, and find themselves in the condition of a noble and rich family whose children are all of proper stature, good-looking, of uncommon intelligence, always well-dressed, and with marvelous neatness. They are the ones who make always the best impression among all others. Now, after such great fortune, this family has had a misfortune. One of these children, degrading himself, descends from his nobility and goes around always dirty. He does unworthy and vile acts that dishonor the nobility of the family. And as much as they do, so that he may appear together with the other brothers, they do not succeed. On the contrary, he keeps getting worse and worse, to the point of becoming the mockery and the laughingstock of all. The whole family has a constant sorrow, and as much as they feel the dishonor of this son, they cannot destroy him and say that he does not belong to them, and that he did not come from that same father to whom they belong. Such is the condition in which all creation and all the works of my redemption find themselves. They are all a celestial family. Their origin is divine nobility. All of them have the will of their celestial Father as their insignia, dominion, and life, and therefore they all maintain themselves in their nobility, beautiful, decorous, pure, of enchanting beauty, and worthy of that will that man, who came from their same Father, has degraded himself. And in the midst of such great glory and beauty of theirs, he is always dirty. He does foolish actions, unworthy and vile. They cannot deny that he belongs to them, but they do not want him in their midst, so dirty and foolish. Therefore, as though tired, they all pray that the kingdom of my will may come into the midst of creatures, so that one may be the nobility, the honor, and the glory of this family. And in seeing that the little daughter of my will comes into their midst, and animating them, asks and makes everyone ask for the coming of the kingdom of the supreme fiat into the midst of creatures, they all feel delighted, because their sorrow is close to ending. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 20, Part 5. Fiat.